Nation.
What's going on, everybody? I want to welcome you back to Knicks Deli, baby. When the New York Knicks rule the NBA, a championship era will be reborn. The NBA has always been at the most electrifying, when the biggest markets thrive. There's no team that embodies this more than the New York Knicks. When the Knicks are the best team in the league, the sport itself feels better. The league takes on a new energy. The Garden becomes the Mecca in every sense, and the entire basketball world orbits around Manhattan's brightest stars: Cat, Brunson, Patrick, Clyde. But what does that actually look like? What happens when the Knicks rule the NBA? I wasn't here for 70 and 73. To answer that, I want to look at what were the narratives. Who were the personalities? Who were the rivals? And the cultural significance of a Knicks championship era, historically and hypothetically in today's modern NBA. So I want to look at the championship DNA. How will the Knicks build the empire? The Knicks' last championship years were 1970 and 1973, and they were defined by selfless, intelligent basketball under Red Holtzman. Willis Reed was the heart, Clyde Frazier was the soul, and the team's identity, of course, built on defense, toughness, ball movement. They weren't just a team. They were a reflection of New York itself. They were gritty. They were stylish. They were tough as nails. Now, we fast forward to today's hypothetical championship Knicks, the one we're looking at right now. Many of those same principles still apply. A dominant Knicks team isn't just built on talent. It's built on identity, defense, effort, physicality, and a sense of showmanship. The Knicks never win as a finesse team. We win as a force of nature. It's dramatic, I know. But in this modern Knicks dynasty, the Garden would transform into an unshakable force. Free agents no longer use the Knicks as leverage. They want to be in New York. They see what's happening. Media attention becomes relentless. The city's celebrities are now beginning to align themselves with the franchise, and every game is now starting to become a must-watch event. And I love the fact that we have two faces of the Knicks now. We have a dominant Knicks team. In any era right now, these two stars are starting to become transcendent. Historically, it's been Willis Reed, Clyde Frazier, Patrick Ewing, and these are players who weren't just great, but also they embodied the spirit of New York. And if this is our new championship era, those stars will have to carry the same burden. Just picture this. Two stars, not necessarily two-way superstars, but they embrace the energy of the city. They thrive under the pressure. Walking into every game as if it's a heavyweight fight. We're almost at that point. And if you get the fusion of Frazier's swagger, mellow shot making, Patrick's tenacity, our team can become the undisputed faces of the league. The media has already crowned Brunson as the king of New York. His every move is almost at the point where it's going to be on ESPN, FS1, podcast across America. Being the main event at Madison Square Garden will have it to the point where even regular season games start to have that playoff atmosphere. We're going to see it tonight with LA. Because it's New York, it's a chaos that's a part of the atmosphere. And around this team, a squad of relentless, battle-tested players. They're starting to show themselves. We have a defensive anchor in the middle, an elite perimeter defender, guards who are like the league's best, a coach who commands respect. But if you think about New York as well, the league's reaction to our dominance, it'll definitely be a reignition of rivalries. All right, Knicks create enemies. In the 90s, the Knicks were led by Patrick Ewing. They had their wars with the Michael Jordan Bulls, Reggie Miller Pacers, Pat Riley's Heat. Today wouldn't be any different. We have those same rivalries. Now it's at the point where they want to be rivals with us. Okay, imagine this: Celtics, Knicks, that rivalry reignited. That becoming the defining battle of the East. Bad blood from decades past. Every game is going to be a war. Tensions are going to start boiling over in the playoffs if we match up with them. It's going to feel like the 90s again. Don't let it be Knicks Lakers like we're looking at tonight, where that legendary coast-to-coast showdown history is there. Biggest markets clash for ultimate supremacy. Clyde, Jerry West, or even the Heat. If we rekindle that with that hatred, Miami trying to play the role in this instance as ultimate spoiler. We're still haunted by the ghost of Jeff Van Gundy clinging on to Alonzo Mourning's ankle. Every game, if we are the top dog, becomes a chance for opponents to prove themselves. They already do it. Superstars take it personally. Road teams start to circle their names on the MSG calendar, hoping to silence the Knicks fans. Instead of folding under the weight of that pressure, this type of team is going to embrace it and make sure we send them out of here with an L. But if the New York Knicks are dominant, a championship level Knicks team doesn't just win games. If they dominate, they'll control the narrative. Every trade deadline will be a soap opera. Every offseason will bring speculation about which star wants to join the Garden. That happens now. Every quote from opposing players, will be about not fearing the Knicks, and it'll get dissected and turned into bulletin board material. Draymond Green right now. Think about the chaotic NBA media and how it is already today. And imagine a world where the Knicks are the standard. New York's newspapers will go into overdrive, talk shows, podcasts. If we're on the verge of starting a dynasty, Stephen A. Smith will lose his damn mind with his monologues that could easily be looked at as a Broadway play. That ninja's so dramatic. Players either love the spotlight or crumble under it. And that's going to determine the type of players that come here. The biggest star will become the most discussed athlete in America. Imagine that. Being a constant source of takes and think pieces. And then there's Madison Square Garden and the Garden Effect, where random role players turn into legends under the bright lights, like a Deuce. The Knicks always seem to have a cult hero, whether it's a defensive specialist like Josh Hart, scrappy guard like Deuce, or an unexpected playoff savior, maybe like Dadier. The MSG will feed off of that energy, and suddenly an undrafted player will be the talk of the city. The Garden experience is different. It's basketball's greatest stage. And imagine when the Knicks are elite, Madison Square Garden is now becoming the center of the basketball universe. Don't let us dominate. It's not just the team that's better. It's the vibe that's better here at MSG. The Garden has always been a special place, but a championship caliber Knicks team will turn it into something more. It'll then be a show. History in real time. Celebrities already flood courtside seats. The sound of the crowd is already deafening, but it's going to go up a notch. And don't talk about the playoffs. The experience is going to be unmatched. Energy is going to be like nothing else in basketball. Every defensive stop is going to be met with intensity of the crowd crushing the building. The chants are going to shake the arena. And when we win, streets of New York are going to explode into chaos. We're already spilling into the streets. But imagine that playoff parade. Imagine that parade, championship parade, down the Canyon of Heroes, down Broadway. Are we starting to see the early stages of that take form now? The Knicks may not be at championship level yet, but you see the foundation is being laid. The current squad already embodies some of the traits of past greats. Defense, toughness, multiple stars, a fan base that believes this time is different. Jalen Brunson is big time, and he's embraced the city, and he's showing shades of that kind of great leader. The team has built an identity around hard-nosed defense and effort plays that echoes the past Knicks squads who prided themselves on making opponents work for everything. Now the question is, will our superstars elevate us to the next level? Or are we one piece away? Or can this core take us to a title organically? If history tells us anything, it's that the Knicks finally do break through. And if we do, the league ain't going to be the same. The entire NBA will be sick. It'll be a shift. MSG will be the stage. New York basketball will become the epicenter again. The rest of the league, they're just going to have to deal with it. So I say that to say this. Don't let the Knicks have a dynasty. Don't let us get a chip. Because when the Knicks are dominant, the NBA is at its peak. The rivalries, the media frenzy, the Garden's electric atmosphere, it all combines into an era that feels bigger than just basketball. The Knicks don't just win titles, if that is the case. At that point, they'll define time periods. Because it's been decades since the Knicks ruled the league. But when they do again, the world is definitely going to notice. The city is not only going to rejoice, but the NBA will have its greatest spectacle back at the center of everything. And when the confetti falls on New York, one thing is going to be certain. Basketball is going to be at its best, and is at its best when the New York Knicks are the kings. Not the Sacramento Kings, but the Kings of New York in basketball. What say you? Keep this in mind. Same thing applies to life. That applies to our team. If there is no struggle, there's no progress. But also remember this, whether it's out there in the real world or here in these YouTube streets, here in Knicks Deli, everybody eats. I'm your boy Sheer, and this is Knicks Deli.
Knicks Deli Edition.
I'm out. Peace.